Welcome to the show From Invisible to In Demand. I'm Kelly Harris, strategist, storyteller, and founder of Kelly Harris Creative. I help women with established service-based businesses simplify their marketing, clarify their message, and attract their next level of clients without doing more, posting more, or burning out. Around here, we believe that story is strategy, clarity creates momentum, and sometimes the smallest shifts create the biggest breakthroughs. Let's dive in. Today we're talking about push and release, and what teaching a calligraphy class unexpectedly taught me about burnout, visibility, and the way women move through the world. So grab your caffeine, get comfortable, because honestly, this one might feel a little bit like therapy. Women are taught to push. Push in business, push in motherhood, push through exhaustion, push through doubt, push through invisible labor, push harder, push longer, push until the job is done. When your entire life becomes pressure, eventually the paper is going to tear. Constant pressure can look productive. It can look like ambition. It can look like strength, but it isn't sustainable. And sometimes the lesson that shows you the truth shows up in the most unexpected place. For me, it showed up in a calligraphy class. I didn't actually plan to teach calligraphy. I have never actually taught it, but it has been a part of my life for a really, really long time. When I was a kid, I started dabbling with calligraphy pens, and it became something of an outlet. It was creative, it was fun, and it was something that I could do and kind of functioned like a reset for me. I didn't actually plan on applying to teach for calligraphy, but I ended up doing that last fall and was approved. And so my very first class was in March. And if I'm honest, the entire night almost didn't happen. Money had been really tight at that time, like really tight. So when I realized I was going to have to spend an extra $50 just to get supplies for these ladies, I started to spiral a little bit. Not because $50 is a huge amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but when finances feel stretched, even small things can start to feel really heavy. Like getting supplies for this class. Every person was getting 2 Tombow calligraphy pens because I wanted them to be able to do different things. So they got a dark color, they got a light color. And even getting those pens was a little bit of an adventure. So I was already on edge that night. And then I went to the local high school where the class was supposed to be taking place, and I go up to the main building entrance and the door was locked. No instructions, no information, no idea how to get in. And here I am, standing outside of this building trying to figure out how I'm supposed to start a class when I cannot even get in the building. So I drove around to another door that I had seen people at, and I still couldn't get in the building. And then I started to panic. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do this. Maybe these women were going to be angry with me. Maybe I should just leave and go home. About 15 minutes into the class, I got a phone call. She told me what door. There was one door out of about 25. They left unlocked. They told me what door to go into. And so I drive back around to where this one door is. And now I'm late. And at this point, I'm 30 minutes late of a 1-hour class. And if you've ever walked into a room where people are already waiting on you, you know that feeling. That moment when you take a breath before opening the door and you think, okay, here we go. Now here's the funny part. The women in the class, they were already inside. Apparently, they had gotten the email on how to get into the building. I did not. And I told them, I started with, hey, I'm so sorry I'm late. If you guys can stay the extra 30 minutes, we'll do the full class. And they thought that it was absolutely hilarious that they had been given instructions and I had not gotten the message. They were kind, they were generous, and honestly, it broke the tension immediately. It was like coming back home to a group of friends that you haven't seen in a while. Now, something else you should know about me is that teaching actually does not scare me. I used to teach kindergarten, so standing in front of a group of people, totally fine. I've done it enough times in my life, it does not scare me anymore. And right now, I'm intentionally putting myself in spaces where I'm teaching and speaking because I know that speaking is something I want to grow more into. So this, in a weird way, felt like practice. But once we got started with the calligraphy itself, something really interesting happened. The women started trying the different strokes because we never just start with our letters, right? We start with the pieces to put it together and practice the parts before we get to the whole letters. And they started practicing the brush strokes, and they could not believe how hard it was. People assume calligraphy is just writing in fancy letters, but it's not. It's controlled pressure. So I started explaining the strokes. When you push down on the brush, you're going to get a thick stroke. When we are pushing down in our letter, we want that thick stroke. And when you lighten the pressure and you pull upwards, you get a thin stroke. Push down, lift up, lean in, lean out. And the room started laughing because they realized how unnatural that felt. Because when we push, we want to keep pushing. We want control. But calligraphy doesn't really work like that. To create something beautiful, you have to trust the release. And at one point, one of the women looked at me and she said, "Is this calligraphy or are we in therapy?" And I laughed and I said, "Well, I'm not a licensed therapist, so let's just call it calligraphy." But honestly, I think it was both. Because as we kept working, I kept noticing something really fascinating. Each woman approached the mini project differently. Their assignment was simple. Write your name in calligraphy. Some women focused only on the letters that they needed. Others started practicing the entire alphabet. Some were slow and meticulous. Others jumped right in and experimented. And the entire time they're talking, laughing, and encouraging each other. The room was full of curiosity instead of pressure. And somewhere in the middle of that moment, something clicked for me. Calligraphy requires rhythm. You cannot create beautiful lettering with pressure alone. You need push and you need release. And that's when I realized something really profound for me. The same is true in business. Burnout isn't a weakness, it's imbalance. In business, we're taught to push, launch the offer, show up online, sell harder, post more, scale faster, push, push, push. But nobody teaches rhythm. Nobody teaches intentional recovery. No one teaches how to release without feeling guilty. If you're constantly pushing in your business, eventually, if you don't slow down, your health will make you. At least that's been my experience. But leadership, real leadership, isn't about force. It's about rhythm. Push when it's time to push. Release when it's time to release. That's not laziness. That's design. Let's try something for just 1 minute. If you're at your desk, push your hand into your desk. Feel that pressure? Now lift it. That contrast? That's the entire lesson. Pressure, release. Push, rest. Lean in, lean out. So this week, I want you to schedule one intentional release. Not quitting, not avoiding, just releasing. Maybe it's an afternoon off. Maybe it's not checking your emails for a few minutes. Maybe it's letting something be imperfect and being okay with that. Just one moment of rhythm. Because sustainable ambition does not come from constant pressure. It comes from balance. If this episode resonated with you and you're ready to stop feeling invisible in your messaging or leadership, I'd love to support you. I offer a limited number of free strategy calls each month where we look at your positioning, your messaging, and the gaps between where you are and where you want to be. You'll find the link in the show notes.